What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. And what we have here today is a couple of angry range hybrids right here, the 509 Tactical from FN and the Glock 45 MOS. Now these are different than what a lot of other companies were offering up until recently because they're crossovers, they're hybrids, or at least that's what they're calling them. So you get a little bit of a shorter slide, but you get that full-size grip. In the case of that FN509, you can see I've got a 24-round magazine in it. And then in my Glock 45 MOS, I've got a standard 17 mag with a +3 from Tyrant CNC. We're gonna compare these two, check out some range footage on them, go over the specs on these things, and see which little angry hybrids you might be interested in. So FN, this is a brand known for making battle-proven firearms. Not only does this FN509 look sexy because it's in that sweet gray that I'm a huge fan of, but you get the optics plate, you get a threaded barrel, you get these insane magazines, you get full ambidextrous controls, and it is just a nice little hammer to go out there on the range and have a ton of fun with. In contrast to Glock 45 MOS, it's the brick, but it's the brick that keeps on going. Gen 5 got rid of those finger grooves. The 45 gave us that 19 slide, the 17 grip. Aftermarket accessories for days on this thing. You don't maybe get everything the FN509 gives you up front, but you do get a lot of those options we love about Glock, which is super reliable, super durable, very easy to customize. And the 45 specifically is my favorite offering on Glock's platform. One of the things we got to tackle right up front is your optics mounting, and we will look at all of these things up close. FN came out with a different optic mounting platform that is a little bit better than Glock's MOS plates. And let's just face it, every time I look at this thing, I see just an angry 24-round magazine that I absolutely love because more Pez is generally better, especially out there on the range having fun. And it definitely satisfies out there on the range. Runs fast, runs hard, runs accurate. Comes with those suppressor height sights for when you throw your optic of choice on there. You still have that iron sight as a backup, and it absolutely provides satisfaction on the range. And if you guys are about satisfaction, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me. Now the Glock's mounting platform, the MOS system, some people love it, some people hate it. Companies are making aftermarket plates to make it more secure, more strong, because that has been the weak point in the mounting system from Glock. But then again, Glock was one of the first ones to come out with that modular optic mounting system. In fact, they were one of the first widely carried polymer frame pistols, minus H&K who was doing polymer prior to Glock, but Glock is the one that really caught those huge contracts worldwide and took polymer to the next level. So how do these two compare against one another out there on the range? Well, the FN509 feels far more natural in the hand with its grip angle, a little bit more refined of a grip and overall experience. The recoil impulse is definitely controllable, and I do like the fact that it gives me the suppressor height sights, the threaded barrel, and of course, fully ambidextrous controls, and those angry 24-round magazines. So the 45 MOS, it's the mishmash of the 17, the 19, no finger grooves in the Gen 5 stuff, very controllable, decent ergonomics, and it shoots well, and you know you can rely on this pistol. However, the Glock just does not have that naturally ergonomic feel due to the grip angle, and especially that Glock hump in the rear. And it does take a little bit of getting used to if you've come from something that has a little bit more of a less aggressive profile in that grip. Let's go ahead and take a look at these things and get into them and show you up close really what the differences between the two are, besides a little bit of that overall feeling. Now, if you guys like anything that's going on here or anything you see here, I'll leave those links down below for you to check out. And make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn the bell notification icons on. And if you're a FN or a Glock fan, make sure you hit that like button. But we are going to get into these things right now. All right, let's talk about these two hybrid sweeties right here. We're going to take an overall look at them right here so you guys can get a really close look. And then we're going to go into the specs. Let's go ahead and start with the 509. So as we can see, angry 24 round mags. They are steel with that polymer base plate on them. This one has the aftermarket trigger in it from Apex. The factory trigger on the FN509s was atrocious. It made a Glock trigger feel good. That is one thing that they have not been able to overcome with this. So let's start from muzzle down to butt here. We can see we got this nice threaded barrel. It does come with the thread protector here, which has an internal O-ring on it on the inside, so you don't have to keep replacing the one that may lose or fall off right there. Pretty cool design, and I like the fact that they did put that in there. So moving back from there, we can see we've got a decent bit of chamfering done on the front end of that slide right there. A little bit blocky. The Glock did a little bit better of a job there. Do got those front serrations. Nice tall Trijicon front suppressor height sight, which is absolutely awesome because these things get expensive. Chamfered down pretty good on the edge right here, which makes it good for doing those press checks if you are into that. Got that FN logo. Standardized looking barrel right there, pretty much what you would expect to see on anything that is striker fired. Got that elongated extractor right there, and it is the same as kind of the Glock. You can tell if it's loaded because it'll pop out a little bit, give you that loaded chamber indicator. So that mounting system right there, you can see how low it fits in the slide, which is nice because sometimes the MOS plate is just a little bit too tall for even suppressor height sights like the one that are on there. This mounting system has an O-ring underneath it that makes it very easy to get on and off, and it's super easy because you don't always have to use Loctite. Some people do, some people don't. Me, I put Loctite on there just to be safe. Working back, you can see those front serrations, you can see the rear serrations on there. Got that RMR on there, and you've got your fully ambidextrous controls for the slide stop, slide release right there, then your takedown lever right there on the side. You do have fully ambidextrous magazine release buttons there, which are metal. They've got some nice knurling in them, which makes it very good to grip. Up here under that light, we're going to have that full pick rail. So you've got multiple slots, so you can use whatever style of light you want on there. As far as the back straps go, you do have interchangeable back straps, which is nice for people with different hands. It's been pretty nicely refined here. You've got different texture up there where your thumb seats in, as compared to the sides, the front, and the palm area. Very nicely smoothed and rounded out there in the corners for the magazine release. Good job up underneath that trigger guard, and it is ample. So you can see I've got plenty of room to get my finger in and out of there on the 509. I do like the texture here quite a bit. I do find that that gives me a really good area to index on my thumb. And of course, the texture up along the front, the sides, and on that back is pretty aggressive, and it is good. It didn't really leave out texturing anywhere. As far as the forward part goes, there's not really per se any accelerator cuts or indexing there, but there is a slight depression right there, right where my thumb is, and it's actually quite comfortable there on the slide. So to get into the basic specs here on this 509, and I'm going to read them right from FN's website so we get the most accurate information possible on this pistol. So we obviously know it's a 9mm. You can get 10, you can get the 17, or those big 24 round bad boys. Obviously it's the double action. It weighs 27.9 ounces. The barrel on here is 4.5 because we've got that little bit extra because it's threaded, with an overall length of 7.9 inches. That barrel is a 1 in 10 right hand twist weight. The height of this bad boy, so if you were to measure it from here to there or standing up and down, is going to be 5.75 inches with an overall width of 1.35. Now, they say the trigger pull on this from the factory is 5.5 to 7.5. it's heavy. This is a nasty trigger from the factory, which is why I went with the Apex one on there. So overall, those are your basic specs for the 509, and that barrel is cold hammer forged. So we'll put this aside for a second and we'll start talking about the 45 MOS. So these are the hybrids. So both of these are that shorter slide, that longer grip, full-size grip, and the 19 length slide here for the 45. Glock still only gave us one slot for that rail up front. What Glock did do is on the 45 MOS and the 45, they gave us the front serrations. Whatever sights you get from the factory, these are aftermarket sights because it did not come with the suppressor height sights. I do find this really easy to run. Those front serrations on there are nice and easy to get a hold of. They've done a really good job of nosing off and kind of rounding the muzzle end here, which is good because that does help you holster, unholster, things like that. So moving on back, it's Glock as usual. Got that extractor right there, which will also be the loaded chamber indicator. Moving back up into that Optic mounting plate. The Glock Optic mounting plate's not necessarily the best system out there. It's a cast plate in there. Some people love it, some people hate it. There are aftermarket ones out there. Moving down into that, we do have that ambidextrous slide stop slide release, but our mag release is only swappable. It is not ambidextrous. So coming into that trigger guard right there, it's tight. I mean, I've got bigger fingers and it's tight for me. So a lot of other pistols give us a little bit more generous trigger guard. It's Glock as usual everywhere else around here. It's bulky, it's kind of got hard corners on it. Not the most refined grip in the world here, but it's Glock and it's what it's gonna be probably forever. No finger grooves on the Gen 5 stuff, typical depression for your thumb right there. On both sides of this, I do have an aftermarket mag well on here because I prefer those SLR mag wells. In all, the Glock 45 is a great pistol, and there are tons of aftermarket accessories for this, for pretty much anything you want to do to it. So let's talk about the specs on this 45 MOS. So obviously know it's a striker fired 9mm. You can get 17, 24 rounders, big 33 rounders, fun sticks, whatever you want for this. Lots of companies make mags for it. 21.73 ounces without the mag, and then 24.5 with it. So it's a little bit lighter than the FN for sure. Now the trigger pull on these is generally between 4 to 5 pounds, and that's pretty normal. It's got that natural Glock trigger in there, you know, whereas the FN, it's got the Apex one in it, sorry. What we are looking here for an overall length is 7.44 inches. Got a slide length of 6.85, an overall width of this of 1.34 inches on it, and that slide width is directly 1 inch. So the frame is a little bit wider than the slide, is why you've got those different measurements there. Good stuff. Glock is a good, solid pistol, and I think everybody out there knows that. Just a little bit of what you are into. So let's go ahead and break these down. Take a look at the insides. We're not going to break them all the way apart, but just to give you guys an idea of the differences inside here between the two of them. So Glock breaks down pretty easy. I think most people know that. But the FN509, you got that throw lever. After it's locked back, you pull the trigger and slide her off. So let's take the slides for example. Standard recoil spring guide rod assemblies there. Barrel goes in as usual. Quite a bit different back here. So you can see the striker block safety on the Glock on the left is more forward. FN's more towards the rear, and then your striker spring here. They both come apart regularly like a striker fire thing would. I can say regularly, I mean similarly. But there are far more parts in here. In the FN509, there's a striker and there's a different spring up underneath the striker block, and the striker's got a couple pieces in it. So it's more difficult here on the 509. It's not quite as easy as the Glock, but it's still not extremely difficult either. Now getting down into the frames, I think we all know the standard Glock one-piece trigger bar, trigger shoe, cruciform comes back, spring down in there. So on the Glock system, it's just super simple. I mean, there's just no other way to state it. The cruciform is the sear, it's everything, the spring is right there, and it's just one operational piece that drops down off of the drop safe ledge, which is right there. You can see it right there. And it's a very, very easy operation here. So the FN is a little bit different. So you can see the Apex logo right there for you. And it operates differently because you have more moving parts. So you do have that trigger shoe and the trigger bar. And then when you pull that trigger, your sear is here. You have a different disconnector. It drops down. It's all different moving parts. You have a secondary detent right here that helps in resetting the trigger. A lot more parts going on in here. And this isn't going to be a full breakdown of everything here. It's just to kind of familiarize you a little bit with what is going on. So putting these back together is pretty simple. All you're going to do, slide the FN slide back on, lock it to the rear, flip the lever, and make sure it works. Do your functions check on there. You're going to be good to go. Glock is Glock. We all know here. You just slide it on, do your functions check, and you are going to be good to go as well. Let's go ahead and talk price, fun, reliability, and all that other good stuff. So as you saw, there are differences. There's good, there's bad, and a lot of it's going to come down to is a brand preference. And like I said, FN is known for making battle-proven setups. Now the factory trigger on the FN, they actually managed to figure out how to make it worse than a Glock trigger. Not good. I have the Apex in here, which cleans it up quite a bit. The FN did not have a good trigger at all from the factory, but you've got that modularity there from the factory. Got the back straps. You've got the suppressor height sights. You've got that threaded barrel. You've got that different recoil spring. You've got a really solid low profile mounting for your optic of choice. And let's not forget that capacity is insane. Now, you can get Glock mags that are that big, but these are factory FN mags, which is just absolutely awesome. Definitely one of the things that separates it is being fully ambidextrous at all times, in case you have to go to your offhand for an injury or whatever, or just some good training out there. Glock in general and the 45 MOS has proven to be one of the most reliable and durable pistols out there. The oversimplified operation of this and parts in it make it so easy that a caveman can do it. You can literally install just about everything in here with the simplest of tools just being an actual small punch to get the pins out. Now there are things that separate the Glock from the FN as well, one of which being price. That FN, I've heard people say they've got anywhere from $650 all the way up to about $850. Now in contrast, the 45 MOS is going to come in generally a couple of $100 cheaper, especially when you look at just the MSRP when you compare the 45 MOS to the 509 Tactical. The difference is you can get parts for this thing just about anywhere, dirt cheap, and if you're into aftermarket accessories or Gucciing out something, Glock is by far the most widely followed aftermarket parts pistol. The question is, does the FN give you more value? And it very well may if you want all of those extra accessories on there from the factory. If not, and you want to do something over time, the 45 MOS could be the key to your future. Now for me, the FN509 just feels more natural in the hand. I like the way it shoots a little bit better, and I like the way it just more naturally lines up with the angles of my body, especially on magazine exchanges and when I'm first pressing out that pistol out in the range. Now overall, may it be a little bit better of a value because you're getting all of that stuff up front, your suppressor height sights, your threaded barrel, ambidextrous controls and all that. Very well could be, depending on how you look at it as far as short-term versus long-term and your plans to change anything if you bought a Glock. Now, even though I've been carrying my 45 MOS every single day, I still find myself gravitating towards that 509. One, because I love gray. Two, because it's just a little bit more ergonomically correct for my wrists. The one thing I can assure you is between the 509 or that 45 MOS, you can't go wrong. Now there was an issue with the 509 breaking some strikers there. My understanding is that it's been fixed. If not, go buy yourself the Apex one and that thing will pretty much never break. But really between the two, you can't make a bad decision. And like I said, a lot of it's gonna come down to brand preference or maybe what you're allowed to carry or not allowed to carry, or if you're in one of those crazy states, what's actually on the roster that you can actually buy. But I'm really curious to know what you guys are into out there. Is it that sexy 509 or is it that 45 MOS? Leave me a comment down below and let me know. Make sure you guys are subscribed to that channel, give that video a like, and turn the bell notification icons on. If you liked anything you saw here in the video, I will leave links down below for some of that stuff. If you're on YouTube, check the first link in the description. It will take you off to a page where everything is listed. You guys get out there and have some fun. If you got a friend with one of these or the other, check it out before you spend your hard-earned money on it. And I will see you guys on the next one.